in our art and culture series, the second topic which we are going to study is Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is made of two words, Sanatan, which means eternal, and Dharma, which means duty or order. Now the question will arise, why Sanatan Dharma? Why not Hinduism, which is very popular word? So see, Hinduism is a geographical identity. Persians and Greek used to refer, in the pretext of Sindhu river, they used to refer the people around that area to be Hindu. So it was a geographical identity. It was not a religious or cultural identity. While Sanatan Dharma has its continuity from the Vedic age itself, and it is an indigenous term. That's why Sanatan Dharma and not Hinduism. Now let's talk about Sanatan Dharma in brief. Sanatan Dharma is further classified under three major heads, although we have many different branches of Sanatan Dharma. First is Brahmanical. So Brahmanical are the nature worshippers, or Brahmanical forms of worship in which they worship nature. Rituals and sacrifice are very common in Brahmanical type of worship. The other one is Bhakti. In Bhakti, we classify Bhakti further into two forms, that is Sagun and Nirgun. In Sagun, we famously know as Sakar Bhagavan. Sakar Bhagavan, where we can imagine the shape, gender and image of our God. Example is Mirabai, Surdas, Chaitanya Prabhu. They were the worshipper of Krishna. And Nayanas saints. Nayanas were the saints, they used to worship Shiva. Now let's talk about the other form of Bhakti worship, that is Nirgun. Nirgun basically means formless God. The famous example is Guru Nanak Ji and Kabir Das. They were around 15th century CE. They were around 15th century AD. Guru Nanak, we know that Guru Nanak used to give more emphasis on Nam Jap. Guru Nanak famous Ek Omkar, one supreme God, where Guru is Nirgun and omnipresent, whereas Kabir Das is related to Bhakti movement. Now the other form of Sanatan Dharma or is Shraman. Shraman basically came in 6th century BC. Some of the Shraman traditions are Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivak and Ajnas. As Buddhism and Jainism is a larger topic in itself, so we'll do this in another lecture. We'll try to cover Ajivika in this lecture itself. While Ajnas are the agnostics. The belief that nothing is known and can be known of the existence or the nature of God. So they are agnostic in nature. Now let's talk about Shraman tradition in brief. So Shraman literally means seeker or seeker. That is one who is seeking truth. During the later Vedic period, which was from 1000 to 600 BC, Hinduism got too much of ritualistic practices in it, and because of which the theological queries of people was neglected, and people were not able to get answer of their life, of their philosophical nature of life, and this problem gave the birth to Shraman tradition. So in order to find the true meaning of the life, which was not possible in the ritualistic practices, many of the saints, they started renouncing the world, and that gave the birth to the Shraman tradition. If you see the example of Gautam Buddha and Mahavira, they renounced the world in order to find meaning of the life. Now let's talk about Shraman tradition. Shraman traditions are the non-Vedic movement. Why non-Vedic movement? Because they don't believe in any sacrificial rituals, and they does not accept the authorities of Vedas. Not a single ideology. Shraman tradition is not a single ideology. They are a mix of diverse schools of thought. They gave birth to the new concepts. They gave birth to like Nirvana, Samsara, Moksha. What is Nirvana? Nirvana is the existence of suffering and desire. What is Samsara? Samsara is the cycle of birth, death and rebirth. What is Moksha? Moksha is liberation from the cycle of the Samsara. That means liberation from the cycle of birth, death and rebirth. That is Moksha. Shraman tradition was against the Vedic philosophy. Why? Because Shraman tradition rejected caste and Varna system and adopted the concept of egalitarianism, which is basically a casteless and a classless society. And Shraman tradition also led to the development of many yogic practices. For example, Dhyan got popularized from Buddha itself, which is basically meditation. Then Buddhist Vipassana is there, right? Buddhist Vipassana is there. Then we have Apagraha. What is Apagraha? It is non-possessiveness. Then famous Ahimsa, that is non-violence. Then Brahmacharya, that is celibacy. Then we have tapas. What is tapas? Tapas is austerity. What do you mean by austerity? It is basically extreme self-discipline. Now let's understand this by drawing a table, and let's understand the difference between Vedic tradition and the Shraman tradition. See, in Vedic tradition, the authority lies with the Vedas, Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Athar Veda, Yajur Veda. But in Shraman tradition, Vedas don't have any authority. Vedic tradition practices yajnas, those were the rituals. But in Shraman tradition, main focus is given on meditation and tapas. So just now I told you what is tapas. It is an extreme self-discipline that was seen especially in Buddhism and Jainism. The goal is more or less similar, but there is a difference between goal that we'll study in further lecture. So goal of Vedic tradition is moksha, while as Shraman tradition is nirvana and moksha. That is more or less the same word, but difference lies in them. So the means to attain this moksha was done in the Vedic tradition through priest and rituals, while Shraman tradition put more emphasis on the self-discipline to attain the moksha. Vedic traditions philosophies were based on rituals and dharma, while the Shraman tradition's philosophies are based on karma and the renunciation. Now let's talk about Ajivak sect. See, in Ajivak sect, there is no free will. What do you mean by no free will? Like, they believe that everything is absolute fate, niyati. They believe in niyati, and they believe that karma is not important. They talks about strict ascetic life. Their main belief is niyati or absolute faith. They believe that basically they believe that everything is predetermined. We don't have to do anything. So they are more inclined toward a lifeless life, where they believe in fatalism or niyativad. What is fatalism or niyativad? It is basically that we need to live a passive life because there is nothing we can do by having an active life. The propounder of the Ajivika sect is Makhali Ghosa. He was the contemporary of Gautama Buddha and Mahavira. He was around 5th century BCE. So they believe that everything in the universe is preordained. That means everything is fixed. Every outcome is fixed in advance. And they believe in cosmic principle. Like, we cannot do anything. Everything is predetermined. Although they believe in soul and God. As they believe that everything is predetermined, so in order to justify that, they believe in the doctrine of inaction. That is karma as an interference in the work of God. That's why they live a passive life. Bindusara, famous king Bindusara, father of Asoka. During his reign, Ajivak sect became very popular. Now let's talk about some of the famous architect of Ajivika sect, that is Barabar cave. It is in Jahanabad near Gaya. Barabar cave was constructed during the time of the Mauryan period, 3rd century BC, during the time of Asoka. It is one of the oldest surviving rock cut architecture. It comprises of 4 caves. Sudama cave, which was built by Asoka. Karan Chopar, which was built by Asoka. Vispa Chopra, which was built by Dasratha. Dasratha is a grandson of Asoka. Lunas Rishi cave, it is built by Asoka. So these 3, Sudama, Karan Chopra and Lunas Rishi is built by Asoka, and Vispa Chopra is built by Dasratha, who was the grandson of Asoka. But gradually, this Ajivika sect declined after the Mauryan period.